Okay, so we're back, and I've kind of penciled in the ginkgo tree. It really looks, this particular one, like butterflies on the trees. So if you have a different example, and going back to the Sibley guide, you can really see the different types of shapes, and some do have those little indentations. So pay attention. So now, usually, what I would do is take my micron pens, which are waterproof, or these, I like the preppy pens with the carbon ink cartridge, and I would just uh, ink it, and then I will add maybe some watercolor and gouache to it. Um, and I can still change out things. This is really a fine branch here. So why don't you go ahead and follow along with me? If you haven't drawn the little tree, then you need to go back to the first video and see it. There's lots of neat details. And remember, sometimes these are very stylized, so look for the ones that uh, may look more like what you would see in nature. Um, of course, I love to draw the more Asian style. A lot of my work is influenced by Asian style, and it's really fun. But there's a lot of bonsai books out, there's a lot of tree books, but this has helped me to kind of see trees a little bit up close. Magnifying glasses are great. Doesn't mean you can't see. Um, I do have issues with my eyes, but that just helps see it better. And it doesn't mean aging. When I studied botanical art, uh, we did use headset magnifying glasses, and they come with lights. There's all different kinds out there, but just as long as you can see, even sometimes readers help. So what this does is it gets me to kind of see the tree and you know, kind of become one with it a little bit. And then once I kind of put in the ink outline, now if you want to just do watercolors, and you wouldn't really need this, but I've really gotten into ink. I've always liked it. I studied graphic design here, you know, in my college days, so I love composition and contrast. But knowing Asian, I do teach sumi painting and study that. So um, it's just kind of fun. So here I just really observed some of the shapes. It was not a really clear image. I did scan it, but if it's an older image, uh, cameras have really kind of changed a bit. So just going back in here leaves some white shapes. And I think this is good practice because we can't always see everything, even though this exercise is to be able to see it up close. But it gets you to look at what you're really seeing, the shapes. What shapes do you see? So I think it's a good practice for right now to do that as well. Um, Sometimes I'm more frustrated because I can't see it. Um, and that's from botanical training. Artists who are scientific and botanical training really need to see detail, because things are so realistic. And when you're trained, like I was as a botanical artist, you're drawing for a botanist. And They want to be able to identify it, and as artists, uh, they can really sometimes add detail that a photograph cannot represent. So here we go. Just nothing fancy. I've penciled in. You can even start with your blue pencil, the color erase blue, and then go over it with pencil or ink as well. These are fun. They're made by Prismacolor, but they're called Color Erase. And this is the copy non-photo blue. I mean, years ago when you did certain printing, you use those and it wouldn't show up in the print, the blue. So they called them non-photo blue printing. So I bought many ficus trees. There's not too many, but sometimes the farmers markets, the locals, um, we have I bought some plants of bonsais from somebody who frequents our farmers market, but they tend to be pricey. And I have attended, if you have somebody who's teaching how to do bonsais. We have some chapters here, and I've gone. I thought I would take up the hobby, but it's a lot of different training. I'd rather go there and photograph. So maybe if there's classes by, you can ask if you could come in and just take photographs of the trees, or if there's a club, ask if you could take photographs of the club members' work. Um, because a lot of times they'll start with a branch or a tree, and you could even do at its study branches and maybe prop it up in a pot or a helping hand. So as you can see, it's not really being able to show the leaf shapes. I mean, different bonsais may definitely, like I felt like this other picture I found, you could really see, and it was actually, I think, AI generated, but we didn't use it. This came from a book, and I, sh- I it should give credit to the author, and I don't know if it says the artist in it. And then notice at the top, because it's foreshortened, uh, seeing more of the tips of the tree. And I'm going pretty fast because I'm just drawing what I see and shapes. And remember, you don't have to put in every leaf because sometimes it just gets so busy. And then I'll go back and give it a second. I usually start more at the bottom, kind of clean up some pencil marks. And since this is in my nature journaling book, I did sometimes I put borders, sometimes I do kimonos, sometimes I do a lot. I've spent a lot of time doing circular compositions as well. So I feel like this is kind of coming out here. And add what you think it needs. And if it's empty, add a couple more leaves. So the carbon ink cartridges are just great. If you like to use, I do like the micron pens. I have lots of them. Uh, They come in different points and they're also waterproof. The thicker the line may take a second, so make sure you're okay with that. Let's see. Just gonna kind of indicate. I don't need to draw that. And then maybe with um sometimes I will put rulers down. Uh Sometimes I will pencil in things, just grabbing, looking for my zero 0.5. And I am going to, and you know, questions for nature journaling reminds me of fans and butterflies, right? Because of the shapes. And then maybe I would zoom in and draw some of these leaf forms that I found in some studies, different things. I always like to read. It's a deciduous conifer, so I would probably rule some lines here. Deciduous. And since it grows, I know up north, right? It's colder climate, so that makes sense. And let's see, it's was found in China. Uh, I like reading about the different trees. For me, it's not just all observation. In Japan, it's associated with sacred sites and often found growing near Buddhist temples. It's commonly planted as a street tree in the Far East, being tolerant of pollution and almost pest free. So, to me, those would be things um, I'd like to add. And what I do like is here, um, it does kind of show they look more arrow shaped, these leaves um, kind of come around. And then, of course, it connects to more of a thicker kind of branching. Kind of shows one maybe behind here. I think you get the idea of that. So it kind of gives me a little bit, maybe I would draw on the fruit that I saw in another book. So sorry, this wasn't straight. Okay, so let's add some color to it. So I did find this other example in another book. And what's nice is this shows multi-stemmed. Uh, Again, you can see there are different, slightly different type shape, but it gives you an idea of what this tree is really about. And for me, like live oaks are really big in Florida where I live. So I may start just kind of studying those things. So I'm going to take out my watercolors and my gouache, My desk is kind of messy right now, so let's do move some things around. And I have some brushes. So I work with a limited palette, um, especially when I'm teaching. I have like 6 to 8 tubes of paint, and I pretty much can mix most of the colors that I want. So looking at this in the picture, you have to decide what type of yellow is it. It looks very cool on the video. On the printout here, it's a little bit warmer. And then, of course, we know from this book that it goes from yellow green to warmer colors. So on the screen, it looks more yellow green, even less green. And then on the printout, it looks like this. And you can see this, how it wings up. This is more of the leaf that we are using today. Okay, so I think I'll just put so like you can think about if you're doing this as a tree study, you might want to think about where the light is. And I I tend from botanical training like to have the light more on the left side. You can also sometimes make a black and white photocopy so you can see that. So let's mix up, let's see, kind of like a very pale, maybe very light yellow, orange color here for the bark. Tuck it in. Probably need to fill a little bit more in, but indicate a little bit there. And then we have more of a yellow green mix. I'm just pulling off some yellow green, kind of thin. I tend to go light when I start. So it seems like a brighter green. So I would probably mix a uh, cooler green, brighter. And if you want to learn more about that, I do offer my signature class through videos if you want to study some more. And it really has a lot of watercolor technique there. So let that dry, and then I could go back and texture. So let's give it some color. So let's see, let's mix up some yellow and kind of thin it out a little bit, not too thick, right? And you can always, what I call, glaze it and add more to it. So one color, right, kind of makes it more flat. And if we add more color, it gives us a little bit more dimension. So I'm thinking if the left side maybe is getting more sun, the right side on the screen would have more warmth to it. So I'm going to add uh, so the problem is, see how much thicker it is. So just thin it out. And maybe you can tuck some underneath. And for nature journaling, what's nice is we can indicate stuff. Um, it's just popping, isn't it? It's like when we do daffodils, you have to use two different yellows. Okay, that was a little bit. You can mix up a yellow ochre. I do have some in my gouache set. These are Holbein gouache. Um, these are regular gouache, not acrylic gouache. Dries a little fast. So I'm gonna kind of just blend it in. Yeah, I just kind of use my fingers a little bit. Maybe bring up some of this color just to kind of indicate that this tree is here. It gets darker though. It's much darker here. So then I would use my Payne's gray or a mix of black or something, never pure black. So Payne's gray is like a blue black, and I use that a lot in my mixes. It's just, it's really wet. So sometimes you have to wait, or if your brush has too much water in it, just take paper towel and kind of blot it a little bit that way. This is a little bit too dark, so it's still wet. And there tends to be kind of a shadow, right? Because we talked about the sun is coming from the right, so the side of the tree is definitely going to have more shadow in it. And probably the side of that little branch. And you could also put a light on the little tree as well. So in here, I'm seeing some green. So I might use a little bit of warmer green up on top. Looks like just some shadow, really. But and no overkill. Sometimes I do keep painting. So the black ink, kind of looks like more puzzle pieces that way. But I will really remember what I did by painting this. It's really dark. So just make sure you thin out your paint a little bit so it's not so dark. And notice I pretty much just used one brown brush. I like the Velvet Touch brushes. If you go to my website, you will see a lot of the products that I teach with, use a lot. And of course, sometimes they're different for painting and a little bit different, but I tend to stick to the same thing. So it's still wet. I could dry it. Let's put some color up on these. I don't know. They were actually green on the side of the picture, but I kind of like it the way it is. Okay, so let's go back in and texture. So classes, we've been talking about different types of, lines that you can make with pens. Let me just add some dark, really neat contrast and some arcs, right? Not too perfect. Now, what's interesting is that the book showed at vertical. So up on here, I'm seeing more of that. So I could kind of just indicate I'm kind of just sweeping, sweeping down, get a little bit lighter. But there's a lot of little dots too. So it's starting to shape up. I don't really see any veining, but I might want to go in and add some maybe edges. Uh, maybe show some stems just so they just don't look like they're just dangling. And that would be pretty much a study. Now, there's a new book, I think it's by the Smithsonian, where it shows some great detail, not so much of the tree, but the connections of the leaves, almost like this. So I might want to put this in a little bit, and I would not spend too much time, but I really like how it's showing these leaves coming out. So it's a little bit too loose. So it seems like it's 4 or 5 leaves come out of one. I guess I don't know if you would call that a petiole. Um, this one shows a little bit more shape, but it's almost like they haven't developed enough. And they're alternate. And if I had the little tree or was able to see it, then I could go up and really examine the branch a little bit too. Little bitty studies, whatever interests you about the tree. Maybe I would close up and just draw the bark. I like to do all that stuff. It doesn't always have to be the whole study of the tree. It can be beautiful just studying these small pieces and doing that. And then what's great, oops, I kind of miscalculated that. Um, but it really gives you um, some good information. So here I like that it's showing really the different shapes of the leaves. This is more, I think, because this one looks more like a butterfly, does have a little indentation. Probably should have been a little bit more over. That's okay. And this one has that split. But you see how they look like fans? Nature inspires so much. So little indications of things I think are really fun to add in. I wish this had maybe now the ginkgo does have veining. Maybe we'll do it in pencil, but it's really all kind of comes out in once from one point. So you could indicate that. I think for this particular one, I wouldn't add that. So I hope this helps. If you like the material, please like it, please follow, and check out what else. It's also pumpkin time, so I think the next video will be on bumpy pumpkins. I've been drawing them for the last few years, and they are so much fun. So join me again. Thank you.